The internet got what they finally wanted. They got to see the blood of Tekashi69. They wanted to see his brains leaking out of his skull, bloody rainbow hair all over the pavement, tinted with his crimson-colored blood, just as it gets ran over by an Uber right in front of the LAX airport. They got what they wanted, or at least a fraction of what they wanted. He was just confronted by two people and he was thrown to the ground. But you still get what you want, right? You still get it. Does anybody have any exciting things that are happening in their lives? I mean, outside of the internet, is there any stress relief that you have in your life? Is there any confrontation that you face on a daily basis where we obsess over the doings of a 19-year-old telling us that he is going to go to a certain part of the country and he doesn't care what anybody says, so he's not going to check in? I ain't going to do that. I'm just going to go over there and get my bag. He's just going to go over there and get his bag, and that's like exciting. We got what we wanted. And now what happens? Everybody wants to say, well, he takes his L. This is how trolling works, folks. This is how trolling works. And you should have found out how trolling works because of our current president. It does not matter how many downfalls a person has. When they are trolling, when they are antagonizing, when they just want you to come at them and give them the maximum amount of attention, whether that attention harms them or anyone else around them, that's really they're all concerned about is attention. So if harm comes to them, well, you can get very excited and you can laugh at them. But one thing that they're going to remain consistent is having a delusional self-belief. They're not going to let go of that baton. He wasn't going to get knocked out in front of the airport and say, well, hey, I guess I have to take this out and take this like a man. No, it doesn't matter. He would have been on camera and he would have said, well, it doesn't matter. I'm getting money, so I don't care what happens. This is how this works. There is no climax here, okay? The grab him by the pussy stuff was just before the goddamn election, and he was still elected because he just brushed it off. If you do not care, then nothing can affect you. Whatever negative news comes your way. So I'm specifically saying this to people who are just... They're pumping their fists and they're thinking that there is some sort of a victory because this happened to this kid. But he doesn't know any better. He doesn't care. He just cares that you're talking about him. That's all he really cares about. He's a troll. But I'm more concerned about something that TMZ tried to do with Tekashi69 and with legendary rapper Rakim. Where Rakim had put out a tweet that was it was pretty vague, and I'm going to show you the clip on TMZ right now. It was a pretty vague clip, and then they brought Rakim in for an interview. So check this out.
Yeah. Well, Lil Pump is part of that new school of hip-hop, very popular, but some people think that maybe they are destroying hip-hop, and the person in particular who's saying that is one of the legends of hip-hop, Rakim of Eric B. and Rakim fame. Had something to say about the new school yesterday, and it's interesting. He posted this saying that you are witnessing the de-evolution of rap music, the death of poetry and smoothness. They use this, the absence of a message, the inability to create meaningful change through words and verses. But the worst is they don't even know they hurt this artful purpose. It's tragic. Tragic.
It's very interesting.
Now, he didn't say anyone by name, but I'm sure he has some people in mind when he posted that. So joining us right now is Rakim. Rakim, thanks so much for being with us, man. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Hey.
All right, stop. Two things. I'm not comfortable with the fact that he keeps calling him that he keeps pronouncing his name the way he's pronouncing it. I understand the way that it's spelled, but Rakim also looks old as fuck. Like, he looks tired. He looks like he's not interested in having this conversation. He's 50 years old. I'm sure that speaking to TMZ is beneficial to him in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if he's still performing, if he's still making music. I'm not sure what Rakim does these days, but he looks like he does not want to have this conversation. We continue.
So who are you referring to? And when you obviously there's some people you had in mind when you posted that.
Well, it's actually funny. The tweet was put out by Eric B. and Rakim tweeter, and I really had no information on it, but
So, as one would imagine, a 50-year-old rapper who sent out a tweet, we find out that they didn't really send out that tweet. So that already kind of takes the effect off of this whole issue that we're trying to make here.
My thing is, you have to let young artists be young artists. I was once a young artist. It's just to make sure that the people understand the difference between hip hop and rap.
Rakim, I'm gonna press you one more time, brother, and I hate to do this, but I just gotta know, who is it you hear on the radio now that makes you think this?
Well, I guess I'm from the era that's opposite of that. You know what I mean? But without no disrespect to any artist, there's a lot of.
What exactly do they want him to say? He's 50 years old. I mean, Lil Pump, Tekashi. Do you want him to say Lil Uzi Vert? You want him to say Lil Kodak Black? Like, whose name do you want him to mention? A 50-year-old rapper to call out a kid, especially with this hilarious thumbnail that they made here. I mean, they've totally encapsulated Rakim's stressed out face and Lil Pump's jovial drug trip. They've encapsulated that into one thumbnail. So that's pretty much the narrative that they're trying to make here, is the old versus the new. But obviously with Rakim, it's not even about him being old. He's just disinterested. He's so disconnected from this idea of new school versus old school, the kind of stuff that's made headlines for the past 3 to 4 years. And I think it's really dying out now because of this reason, because it's been done time and time again. There is no conflict here, and there's really no conflict, we find out, because they also interviewed Tekashi.
We had Rakim on our show the other day, and he has some issues with the new school, the Little Pumps, the 6ix9ines.
Yeah.
Saying that, it's not quite hip hop. What's your take on that? Is it evolution or?
Music changes. You know what I'm saying? Music changes every year. In 2019, 2020, I don't even know if I'll be relevant anymore. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Music is just changing so much. You just gotta get with it. You know what I'm saying?
You couldn't possibly pick two people in two different places in their life. Somebody who is an accomplished artist who is years upon years past his prime, to an artist who is in his quote unquote prime, is currently looking out the window because he can foresee a bit of conflict, and he's being asked a question about some rapper that he's probably never heard of. This rapper who also didn't specify his name like the interviewer implied, the Lil Pumps, the Tekashis. And as soon as he says Tekashi, of course, that triggers him. But Tekashi couldn't seem any less interested to answer this question by, just by saying something as vague as, well, you know what I'm saying, music changes. This is such a lame attempt by TMZ to try to get something going. And I mean, what was really going to happen here? What was this supposed to start up another war like you had, what was that between like Nori? I think it was Lil Uzi. I think that was the biggest old head versus new head. I think it was, somebody correct me in the comment section below. I know it was something that came from, or it might have been, what's this guy's name? Might have been Vince Staple versus Nori. I think that's what it was over Twitter. But anyway, I don't know what they were trying to drum up here. The old school and the new school going at each other has lost its flavor, I think, because it's been pretty much established that they're here to stay. They're not going anywhere. This isn't a fad. And just because it's not a fad doesn't mean it's not terrible. It doesn't mean it's hard to listen to. It doesn't mean that it's vapid. It just means that it's here to stay longer than people would have thought. And I'd like to connect that to something else that Rakim says at the end of this interview.
As the listeners, I think they should be a little more opinionated on what they're listening to and what they like, and a little more opinionated on what they're hearing. You know what I mean? And I think that'll help, all right, not only what's out there, but the artists make conscious decisions to make, music with a little more substance. All
right, well, so you're not going to say the name, but
there's something really critical there. There's something very intelligent that was said that you have to pay close attention to. I mean, I've been saying this for years, but the most important part of the golden era of music that actually meant something to everyone, the most critical part of creating that kind of music is delivering that music to an audience that challenges you as well. Not an audience that drinks it in and says, well, hey, this is what's relevant. It's an audience that's critical and that they can point out what they like and what they do not like. They just don't run with waves. I think this is my theory, and you guys know that if you're going to be on this channel, you're going to listen to a bunch of crackpot theories that don't exist, that exist inside my head. It doesn't matter, but I throw it out anyway, and I hope that's why you listen. But my theory is that, you know, if I can think back to any albums or any records that I really liked when I was 17, 18 years old, I'm 36 years old. When I was 17, 18 years old, none of those albums came with, the receipt didn't say over 400,000 units sold to date. You know, there was no number attached to the music that I was listening to. There were no numbers attached to the shows that I liked. You get to see the numbers on content now, and you never saw that before. And the fact that you can see numbers is sort of like a Zagat rating. It's like when you go inside a restaurant and you say an A or a B, it already has a rating. And since a lot of people consume something and a lot of people love something, you're more than likely to gravitate to it. It's a very basic concept, but it's so basic that it pretty much lets you know why mumble rap, or I don't really want to call it mumble rap, but why this new wave of music is staying for as long as it's been here. I mean, for example, Tekashi has this, this Billy, a song that I like, by the way. That's the only Tekashi song that I've heard so far. I've only heard a snippet of it, but I think he's going to release the video soon. And Billy's a record that's probably going to do over 100 million streams. It's probably going to go crazy. And people gravitate to things when they see the numbers. They see what it's done. And that's why it's harder than ever to do what Rakim is proposing that rap fans should do. That rap fans should point at stuff and not be afraid of something just because it has 100 million views and say, that's not good enough. I don't care how many people are listening to it. That's not good. We can do better. And then, in turn, what happens years from now is that artists take heed from those requests and they make the music better. A very basic concept, but something that's getting lost here are the numbers being presented. You may feel differently about my content because I don't have a ton of viewership. That may make it seem like it's not as valuable, but there's something there. There's something to the human psychology of seeing numbers and the idea of conformity and what we connect to it, and how maybe we watch a video that has 400 million views and we watch it and we somehow adapt to it because it already has that big number. So there must be something of value. Kind of went off the deep end there, but please let me know what you guys think about, listen, I don't want to talk about the Tekashi fight, but if you want to comment on it, you can do so. Please let me know how you feel in the comment section below, and I will see you guys next time.